Aloha from Hawaii. Welcome to my first podcast. I guess first things first, I'm blown away by you guys. I got such a great reception coming back to YouTube. It was really cool to just get all that love and messages and people really relating to the film. If you haven't watched it yet, My Secret Growing Up in Hawaii is my newest post, my newest film. It's up on YouTube now. You can go watch it. It's kind of the prelude to this whole Aloha from Hawaii series. And yeah, I guess the second thing I want to say is big mahalo to everybody who grabbed the hat. They are flying off the metaphoric internet shelves. So if you want one, make sure you go get one. I'm pretty proud of these. Me and my friend Jake Gonzalez from the west side of Kauai designed it. We got the Aloha from Hawaii on there and the Koe Kea. When we were kind of coming up with the branding for this whole Aloha from Hawaii thing, I sent him like a 20-page long like PDF, all my ideas and thoughts, and this was the one. He was like, we got to go with the Koe Kea. And it just feels right. It feels representative of the brand and of Hawaii. Like when I see this bird, for me, I mean, you can see them all over Hawaii. You can see them all over the Pacific. But for me personally, I see them a lot in Waimea Canyon. And if you go early enough, you can actually watch the Koe Kea lift up, fly off their Mauka side nests all the way up in the canyon, catch the thermals up into the sky, and then shoot out into the ocean and go fish all day. And then they come back, nest. So they live Mauka, spend all day fishing Makai. And it's kind of like that Mauka to Makai balance and that simple life that I think makes Hawaii so beautiful and so special, which brings us to Aloha from Hawaii and why we're doing this, why I'm making this. Quite simply, what Aloha from Hawaii is, it's a series of videos and podcasts made to celebrate Hawaii and the people of Hawaii. I just think that we have the greatest people on earth, and I get to rub shoulders with them. And this series is just made so that you can rub shoulders with them too. I want these videos and these podcasts just to feel like you're hanging out with us, like you're hanging out with some of the most beautiful, inspiring people that I've had the pleasure of meeting. I'm hoping that it also leads me to meeting a lot of new people. There's so many stories here in Hawaii. That was the other reason I'm like, I got to switch up what I've been doing. Like less traveling, less big films. Like let's create a show that can be like, I don't want to say mass produced. I don't think we're mass producing them, but can be produced a lot more efficiently. And we can put out a lot more stories and tell a lot more stories. Because I mean, I don't put out too many films. You guys know that. But I'd like to. And I'm going to start to. And this is how I'm going to do it. We're going to be telling a lot of home stories. We're going to be introducing you to some incredible, incredible people that I'm lucky to know. And I'm grateful to have on the episodes. Or videos, whatever you want to call them. But the first one that came out is out. It's my prelude. It's my origin story. It's kind of my childhood and what it was like for me growing up here. It's joyful. It's sad. It's kind of digs deeper into the pieces of growing up here that made me feel lesser, and made me kind of feel like I wasn't at home in my own home. And I think it was that story of, being an outcast. Everyone's experienced that. It doesn't matter where you're from. Like at some point as a child, you felt like the kid that wasn't wanted. Like you got picked last for kickball or whatever you were doing. And I think that's why people are loving the film so much. Because it relates. Everyone has been that kid that feels like they don't belong. So if you haven't seen it, go see it. If you haven't copped the hat, go cop the hat. Aloha from Hawaii. I don't know if this is going to be a limited series or like a staple in our product line, but we got plenty coming. But yeah, get this before they're gone. I have a bowl here full of questions from you guys that you guys left on the YouTube, left on Instagram. So we're just going to run through these questions. This is going to be my first podcast. It's going to be solo. The podcast to come, I'll have a guest on. My next guest is going to be Kimmy Warner. Very excited about that. So that's the next video. That's the next podcast. It's going to be me and Mama Kimmy. So stay tuned. Also, shout out. What was that right there? This is my favorite shirt from Aloha Exchange. Upcountry Kalaheo. And I got the Olukais on. What's up, you frickas? Check them. Look them. Oh, yeah. Bam! Huge shout out to Olukai. Let's get this right. I guess that's not going to go in focus. Anyway, huge shout out to Olukai. They're sponsoring this series. I've never worked with a better brand. They're just amazing. I love working with them. They're really allowing me to create the way I want to create and how I tell the stories that I think you guys want to hear and I think the world needs to hear. And it's just been butter. It's just working with them is so smooth and they're so kind. And I will be rocking Olukais till the day I die, whether they endorse me or not, because I just am so in love with how awesome of a brand partner they've been for this series. Okay, let's get started, people. We got questions. Yes, first question is from my brother Ford. And he said, one link to send to someone to better understand Hawaii. It's actually a good question. Most of his questions were joke questions. So if I had one link to a video to send someone to better understand Hawaii, what would it be? I mean, do I plug my own stuff? It hasn't come out yet, but I have a new film coming out at the end of March. It's called Hula is Hawaii. And I think that one's magic. Or right now, you can go on my YouTube and watch Aloha Aina with Kaina Makua. I'm not trying to shout out my own films, but the people who are a part of those films are special. And we tell an amazing story. Other than that, Xavier Cummings. Go follow him on Instagram. That'll give you a taste of Hawaii. Kamaka Diaz. Also, that's also a good one. Hawaii Verse. I'd send him a link to the Hawaii Verse podcast. Or I'd send him a link to Xavier Cummings. How's this guy? Instagram. Or I would send him my YouTube channel. M.E. Johnson wrote in. You know what we should do? I want to have a radio voice. Welcome to 98.2. Smooth Hawaiian jazz. M.E. Johnson wrote in. How do locals really feel about tourists? That's a loaded question. How do locals really feel about tourists? Is my question. I mean, I think you'd be surprised how quickly we can become accustomed to a tourist if they're a likable person who's respectful and humble. We all work in the tourism industry or have at some point. I used to teach surf lessons. I did not like all the people that came through. It wasn't just oh, freaking holy, da-da-da, these tourists over here on the island, da-da-da. Sometimes it felt like that. But, if people were genuine and kind and humble being a big one, if you can enter here and remember that this is not your vacation destination, this isn't your little slice of paradise that you've escaped your life to come to. I get that there's people out there who work really hard and this is their vacation, this is their getaway, but this is our day-to-day life. This is our home. This is where we live. And if you just keep that in mind and you're respectful and humble, people will be more than happy to have you here. Next question is from Yash. In a world of short content, how do you tell a story of length? I mean, I feel like it's not that hard. Like a good quality story is okay, it is hard. But I think it can be just as hard to tell to do like a viral short. Like not all the time. Sometimes they're really stupid and really easy to make. But like storytelling, long form, short form. I think us as artists, we get too into like, no one wants to hear my long ass story. Make it more interesting. Make it entertaining. Like make a good video. Like that's what we're doing. We're trying to entertain people. So maybe figure that out for yourself. Are you an artist or are you an entertainer? There's a big difference. Or are you both? That's what I'd like to try to accomplish. I'm not saying I'm both. I think I've been more of an artist in the past, and now I'm like, okay, how do I be more of an entertainer? Because a lot of artists die broke. I don't really want to do that. Entertainers, on the other hand. Question from Zara Booth. How do you balance respecting Hawaiian culture as a non-native, but with it also being your home too? Nice question, Zara Booth. How do I want to answer that? Yeah, I mean, if you come into a space with humility, that'll take you very, very far, especially here in Hawaii. So I don't really worry about striking a balance. I don't know. Like, I don't even try to balance it really. Like, it's more of just like, I know my lane. I know who I am. I know what my experiences are. I know what growing up in Hawaii was like for me. And I understand that that's different for a Hawaiian. And there's ties to this land and this place that I'm never going to completely understand because I don't have the blood. And I'm fine with that. Like, a lot of people think that I'm like upset about that. Like, I want to be Hawaiian. I wish I was Hawaiian. I don't wish I was Hawaiian. Like, being Hawaiian in this day and age is hard. There's a lot of kuleana with that, of being Hawaiian and trying to strike the balance of how do you exist in this modern world and then also be Hawaiian and stay true to your like traditions and your roots and who you are. Like, I don't know. So I think that balance is maybe sometimes harder to strike than it is being Haole in Hawaii. But I mean, everyone has their story and their struggle, and they're trying to figure out who they are and what they're doing. But I just stay in my little lane and try to be respectful and humble. Question from Mandy Bretch. Sorry, I didn't mean to say your last name like that. That felt disrespectful. Mandy Bretch. What was it like growing up in Hawaii? Was it easy to make friends? Okay, so my latest video, growing up in Hawaii, kind of talks a lot about my own little traumas and my problems and like growing up in Hawaii and how it was hard for me and how I got beat up when I was haole and da-da-da-da-da. And that's all true. But I'm just telling a story. Like, you could tell a story from 1,000 different perspectives. And I tried to touch on this as well, but not as much in my childhood. Like, it was more like I grew out of that place of darkness into a better place. Like, you have to have a story that moves and progresses. But my childhood wasn't all sadness and, me getting beat up because I was haole. And I had an amazing childhood. I grew up with such great people, and I made so many friends. And although I did feel outcasted sometimes, I felt love and aloha a lot of the time as well. So yeah, it wasn't too hot. I'm also a very talkative, loud person. So like, when I was getting beat up, it was because of that. And when I was making friends, it was because of that. Like, I just kind of always had a presence. And that presence was either appreciated or not appreciated. But whatever, my presence is my presence. and it is a present to you if you'd like to accept it. Diego Oko. I don't know how to say your last name. How to get to Hawaii on a low budget. My brother. There's no low budget over here. Welcome to our problem. I'm sorry. Go somewhere else. Spence Malley. How/when did film/travel start? How I got started in all this story. I was in high school. I was in Spanish class, and my Spanish teacher was chewing me out because I wasn't doing my I wasn't watching the movie we were watching in Spanish. I was doing my science homework. I like to do my homework. I didn't like that I had to take homework home to do more school when I'm already out of school. I want to go surf. I want to go hang out with my friends. I wanted to do something. So I tried to get my homework done at lunch or recess or when we're watching a movie in Spanish. She didn't like that. She chewed me out. I grabbed my bag. I left. I went to my photography class because my teacher was cool and I thought he'd let me do my science homework. He did not. He also said, you got to do my work. I'm like, bro, this is photography. The work's done. We don't do any work here. But it was their film class. So he's like, film something. So I filmed something on my phone. And I actually like really liked it and had a ton of fun with it and made some stupid little video of my friend Pono Bukowski and a few other kids of them like jumping off a wall. And like, I don't know. I just edited together music. I was like, that was cool. And I've always kind of had a creative, I don't know, bone in my body or itch or something. Like I always like painting or drawing, or I like to draw cartoons when I was a kid. I thought I'd be a cartoonist or like be a chef, or I don't know. I always liked artsy things, I guess. And so videos, no different. I liked it. And then what I learned at one point was with video, you could do anything. Like as I was making videos, I'm like, oh my God, anything I feel like doing today, I can make a video about it. Surfing, diving, cliff jumping, going camping, like whatever it was, we could just film it. So now like I had this thing that I was passionate about that let me do absolutely anything. And when I saw money attached to that, when I had my first brand deal, which was Waikoko for a few $100, I made a little commercial. I was like, bang, let's go. And I just hustled, bought big, like, got more jobs, retired the GoPro, bought a bigger camera, kept going. Somewhere down the line, get introduced to influencers, get traveled around the world to go shoot influencers. Got sick of doing that, realized they're making 10 times more than I was, and I was doing all the work. So I flipped the camera around, became an influencer myself. It's like, bang, that's where all the money is. That's what I'm going to do. Became an influencer, got super into myself and likes and comments and started lusting after that. And all my content kind of became like, how do I get more attention? Whether that's because I was attention hungry or I was just working the algorithm or I don't know, something in there. But I got sick of it at some point. I got sick of talking about myself. It just became shallow. And I got over it, and I was traveling the world, and I was just talking about myself. Look who I'm with. Look what I'm doing. Look where I am. And at some point, I'm like, holy shit. I'm having all these life-changing experiences. I'm meeting these incredible people around the world. And if you look at my Instagram, you don't learn any of that. You don't see any of that. Like, you just see, like, me and chicks' butts, like freaking just nonsense things. I'm like, this is stupid. And I wanted to tell stories. I think what it really was is I felt like I was changing as a person, and I felt lucky to have the experiences I was having. And I was thinking about my friends back home, and I wanted to give them kind of the same experience that I was having. So I was making these videos of like, okay, how do I share? Like, these people are giving me something. How do I give it back? How do I pay it forward? And then I got sick of traveling so much. And I made Aloha from Hawaii, a brand new series on my YouTube, baby. I got a question from my pops. Alan Potter, 1968, asks, who is your favorite kitten? I have 3 kittens. Now, guys, if your girlfriend ever brings home kittens and she says we're going to hold these kittens and then we're going to find a home for them, just know you're going to end up with all of those kittens, whether it's 1 or 2 or 3 in my case. So I have 3 kittens, and I don't necessarily have a favorite, but since my girlfriend's favorite is Gujo and Runt, also her name's also Rudy or Rue or Runtina or Runtastic, whatever you want to call her. My favorite has to be Yari, just to balance things out. My brother asked me, Butterfingers or Snickers? It's a hot topic around the campfire. And I'm going Butterfingers. Feeling crazy. Dakota Roman. What advice would you give to someone who wants to learn about Hawaiian culture? Well, where are you at in the world? Are you in Hawaii? Which island? Are you on Kauai? If you are, then you should go to Malama Huleia's community work days. I think it's second Saturdays, last Saturdays of the month. They're awesome. Alakoko Fish Pond Restoration. It's run by Paleke Florence. What their whole goal is community outreach. I mean, it's a lot more than that. But they're really good at bringing people in and kind of just being an incubator for people who want to come in and start to be a part of Hawaii and that side of Hawaii, like traditional Hawaii. So that's pretty freaking cool. You should check them out. There's also a bunch of other really cool nonprofits and community work days around the island. So you should just look into where you're at. Start asking people in your real life day to day who live on your island. Hey, you know anything like this that I could go to? It's very rewarding. I strongly suggest you go. You'll meet some incredible people. I know it can be a little bit uncomfortable in the beginning to like take that step and go like participate in a culture that's not yours, surrounded by people who know what they're doing and you feel like you don't. But it's really good for you. Go do it. Mackenzie Vickers. What makes you feel most connected to the people/land in Hawaii? Well, Mackenzie, I'm going to have to give you 2 different answers there. 1 for people, 1 for place. What makes you feel most connected to place? Packing a bag and disappearing for a few days up in the valleys or the mountains, either with some of my friends or my girlfriend or myself, and just connecting in that way. There's nothing that fills my soul and makes me feel more at home than that. And I'm counting down the days, either Thursday or Friday. Actually, when this comes out, I'm pretty sure that I'm just going to schedule this and then I'm going to go in the valley. Also, when you're watching this, I'll be very, very far away from civilization. And I'm excited about that. What makes me feel most connected to people? I mean, what people? Like my family, my friends, my community. For family, just being in my house, talking shit, watching movies, playing games. For friends, going deep. And for community work days, or just community events, just going out. And what I mean by going out is like to cool, like local events, not like to the bar to like pick up chicks or something. That is not how I feel connected to my community. That is how I feel very not welcome in my community. Cassie, not that I'm picking up chicks anymore. I got a chick now. For life, kind things. Cross my heart and hope to die. Cassie Gumu. Cassie Gomu is what I'm going with. How do you come up with ideas for your videos? That's a great question. That's not easy to do, actually. I think that you just got to put in time, stare at blank walls, like take inspiration from your surroundings, go out and do stuff, go out and meet people, figure out what you're passionate about, which is like the easiest thing to say and the hardest thing to do. But yeah, when it just comes to purely finding an idea, just stay focused, turn your phone off, get away from your computer, sit there with a pen and paper so you can't go scrolling anywhere, or just stare at a wall and wait for something to hit you. That's how I find most of my ideas. Or I go out and I do things and I meet people and then I'm inspired by something. And I'm like, I got to make a film about this. What else we got? Filmed by Max. Did I write that right or did I might have smudged it. It might not be filmed by Max. It might be filmed by someone else. But whether you're Max or someone else, keep filming. Thanks for the question. What do you do to... I can't read my own handwriting. What the hell am I writing here? What drew you to filmmaking and storytelling? I kind of feel like I already answered this, but maybe I didn't. Right now, what draws me to telling stories? Let's change up the question just a little bit because I feel like I did already answer this. Right now, what draws me to telling stories is I feel like Hawaii is filled to the brim with untold stories. And the way I've been producing films isn't quick enough. I can't tell everyone's story like this. I can't take 2 years to make a film. I can't take 6 months to make a film. It needs to be done in a couple weeks, a month, maybe. Think of how many more stories I can tell. That's what gets me excited. How many stories I can tell here at home. How many people are just doing what they think are average, everyday activities, but are really so special and so unique and deserve to be told. So that's what I want to do with this series. That's what inspires me. I want to take everyday stories and the people of Hawaii and celebrate them. And that is what Aloha from Hawaii is all about. Brad Films asks, how do you find such creative ways to tell stories on such a small island? I take inspiration from the people who live here. It is quite a big island in reality. Why is the Hawaiian... I didn't write who asked this. I'm so sorry. Why is the Hawaiian and Maori language so similar? Oh, I did. It's from Ashley Gruby. Because they're both Polynesian cultures. So the Polynesians... Sorry. Let me finish scratching my head. The Polynesians, I think they started in Asia and then they were voyagers and they voyaged out into what is now known as the Polynesian Triangle. What kind of triangle was that? The Polynesian Triangle. So you have, Hawaii, Tahiti, Samoa, New Zealand. You have all these cultures that are within the Polynesian Triangle, and they're all originated from the Polynesians. So you can find similarities in everything, not just the language. It's pretty cool. Traveling to, I would like to do a lot more traveling within the Triangle. But what I've done so far has been incredible. And you can find a lot of unique differences and a lot of things that make you or make me as someone from Hawaii feel at home and like seen and understood, which is pretty cool. Caitlin 7941, how to reconnect when you no longer feel like yourself? Damn, Caitlin, you're asking yourself the big questions. Uncle Iro would be proud. Time and solitude, and as much of those two things as you need. But if I had like one piece of advice for people, especially younger people, get to know who you are. Like, be alone with yourself. I can remember when I was in high school and before that as well, I was so scared of being alone that everything I did was noise, TV, music, friends. Like there was never silence because I didn't even like my own thoughts. And that was something I had to like tackle at a very young age. Yeah, so I think solitude and just like, giving yourself that time to get to know yourself, it's important. You got to do that every once in a while, no matter what. Billy Roke wrote in, what were your stomping grounds like as a kid? That's a cool question. How did you feel your holidays? I wonder where this guy's from. Billy Roke. Rock. Roke? That's a cool question. I mean, I grew up on Kauai on the south side. I had several different homes between Koloa and Kalaheo. My brothers were born in Lauai. I still live in Lauai. When we were kids, we would... like our whole childhood felt like an adventure. In my new film, Growing Up in Hawaii, I show a lot of this and I share a lot of this, but we had what was the Red House. My parents bought this broken down pig farm. And we took that piece of land and turned that pig farm into a little house. And it was surrounded by horse pastures. And that whole process of my dad building that house was an adventure. And my mom would get sick of all the red dirt. And so we'd go live at Polahale for, it depends on who you ask. My mom will say months. My dad will say weeks. But it was a long time. As a kid, it felt like a lifetime. I felt like I spent a lifetime at Polahale. And those were the best days of my life. We'd camp at Poli's and wake up with the sun, and my dad guys would go fishing in the morning. They'd go spear fishing. So you'd watch the boat go out in the morning, dook, 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 out, disappear. And then you'd watch them come back several hours later, just like zooming in, and we'd all run to the beach. Oh, what do they got? Watch them pull these giant fish out of the coolers. And I remember like the sand would get so hot at Polahale when we were kids. And we were just like living in tents and these pavilions that they have at Polahale. And the sand would get so hot in the middle of the day that we'd have to you'd want to get to the ocean, but it was like a solid 200-yard walk. And the sand would get so hot that you couldn't walk it. Like you had to either run it, and even then you might just like get to a point where your feet get like blister burns, or we'd take bodyboards and like we'd have like 3 kids on a bodyboard. We'd have one bodyboard, put it down, jump on that one, put another bodyboard, jump on that one, put another bodyboard, jump on that one. And we'd just like leapfrog it all the way to the ocean. Or just like summers in Koloa when my parents would drop us off at the beach with surfboards and a tackle box and fishing poles. And we'd be there all day. We'd have 50 cents to buy rice at the store above Prince Kahio, PK's. And yeah, we'd just live at the beach all day. Parents would go to work, drop us off, pick us up on their way home from work. We'd Green Pond. Green Pond was full of adventures. Yeah, I don't know. It's a blessed life. I feel really, really grateful. Mackenzie Vickers, what is your favorite lore about Hawaii? Oh, that's a sick question. My favorite lore about Hawaii. Damn, that's a good question. Let me keep this one. Let me think about that. I'll answer that one towards the end. We're almost towards the end. We're almost at the end. Ashley Gruby. If you couldn't live in Hawaii, where would you live? I would die. I'd rather be dead. Everyone always thinks I'm joking when I say that. And I think that I'm serious. Like maybe that would change when I have like a gun to my head and they're like, move. And I'm like, fine. But I'm pretty sure I'd rather be dead here in Hawaii than alive anywhere else. And the reason I can say that so confidently is remember when we had that like missile scare or whatever? And the missile went up in the air, or I don't fucking know. What was it? Jordan, what was that called? He's not here. He left me. What a producer. We had that scare here in Hawaii when there was like a missile inbound, like the alert went out, like all of our phones blew up, like missile alert, like we all thought we were gonna die. I didn't really care. Like I did, but I didn't. One, I didn't quite buy it. I'm like, we'll see. Two, like where else am I gonna be? Like if a missile hit Hawaii, I would hope I was here and I died with everybody else. But I want to be like taking a trip somewhere and then just never come home again. Never see my friends or my family again. No, thank you. I would rather die here than live anywhere else. Sewell Morin asks, what type of stories do you want to tell? Give native species a highlight. Oh, cool. Well, Sewell Morin, you are in for a treat. We'll be doing a lot of stories here in Hawaii that celebrates our native fauna. Flora. Sorry. Yeah, the stories that inspire me are definitely Aina-based, like elements, Mauka Makai, like connect you to the ocean, connect you to the mountains, connect you to the plants, connect you to the animals. Like, those are the stories I like to tell. That's what I like to do. That's where you can find me on my days off. I'm far away from all this, and I'm somewhere deep from Mauka to Makai. So yeah, those are the stories that fire me up and get me passionate. And our first video, or second video, because my first one's already out. If you haven't seen it, go watch it. Growing up in Hawaii. My secret growing up in Hawaii is going to be Kimmy Warner. We're going to have Kimmy Warner on, and that's going to be an awesome episode. Perez Travel asks, what is your end goal with Hawaiian storytelling? Do you mean to say Hawaiian storytelling? Or are you trying to say storytelling in Hawaii? One day, I would like to make fictional films like that have like what's the word I'm looking for here, people? Fiction, but also nonfiction. Like historically based fiction films all about Hawaii. We have such a cool history here that no one seems to know about. And I definitely have an infatuation for Hawaiian perspective. And I have an infatuation with Hawaiian culture. And I think that's just me really wanting to incorporate indigenous systems into my life. I find it so rewarding. To be indigenous to a place is a beautiful thing. Radiant gains. What kind of gains? Where do you get your discipline, passion, and motivation from? That's a loaded question. I heavily believe that your passion is something that you should seek after heavily. Finding your passion is maybe the most important thing you can do in this lifetime. So that takes a lot of time. I got lucky and I found it pretty early. And I attribute that to the fact that I was looking pretty early. Like I can remember like praying. And whether you're religious or not, I was then, I'm not now. I don't think it really matters. I think it's putting that intention out into the world of like, give me something. Give me something that I'm good at. Give me something that I love. Give me something that I can't get enough of. Like, give me a reason for being here. I think that's a really good question to be putting out there. And a powerful one. Where do I find my motivation? Freaking, I don't. I mean, I just do it. It's not, motivation isn't some like fictional fairy dust thing that you can just capture. Like I woke up sick today and I got on a plane to Oahu and I'm doing this podcast and I'm not complaining about it or even had no intention of talking about it. You just do it. Motivation is just focus. Just do it. Just do it. Just stop talking about it. Do it. Passion, motivation, and what? What was the third thing? Shoot, I threw that one too soon, huh? This looks like a mess down here. It's just a bunch of notes everywhere. I'm not going to find that again. I'm so sorry. Discipline. Yes, there you go. I got you. Discipline. I guess I kind of I just described with motivation, didn't I? Ford. Best tree species for climbing. Great question, Ford. Pine trees, monkey pod trees, but lychee trees take the cake because not only do you get to climb them, but you get rewarded. Mangoes, avocados, you get rewarded, but the tree isn't as fun to climb. I think we can all agree on that. Oh, there's another one in here. Ford, pet pigs, goats, or cows. If I only get to choose one, I'm going with cows because more meat. And it implies that I have land. You can have a little bit of land and have goats or pigs. If you have cows, you get land, guys. And I like land. Oh, we did it, people. Oh, I owe Dakine Media a new bowl. Sorry, guys. Mackenzie Vickers, what is your favorite lore about Hawaii? It's such a good question. There's so many good ones. There is a lore, and I'm not going to remember any of the names of the Hawaiian characters. I used to have this whole mo'olelo in my head that I'd tell it when we were deep in campfire stories kind of stuff. But the story goes, there was the people of Waimea. So to put into perspective, we have Waimea Canyon on Kauai. Kauai was the first place the Polynesians landed at. No, yes. Polahale. So they started in Mana, and then Waimea became the first big community. And then there was another community up in Kauai Valley. And this was in the beginning of times before Kauai was a unified kingdom. So people would war with each other. So there was the people of Kauai and the people of Waimea, and they would always war. And the story goes that there was a farmer and his wife caught in the middle of a battle. And he was farming in Waimea Valley. And so he goes up Kukui Trail, and they want to escape. And they seek refuge in, what valley? Somewhere on the Nepali coast. Nuololo or Kalalau. Maybe they don't even say, so I won't. They seek refuge elsewhere. And the Hawaiians used to have these big ladders that they would use. This isn't lore, by the way. Like they had these big ladders, and they would use them to get into the valleys. Usually they'd go by va'a or, canoe. But in the winters, you couldn't access these valleys with a va'a because the waves were so big on the Nepali coast, especially during, you get those big north swells, no one's going anywhere. So they take trails out of the valleys, but the valley walls were so steep that they used rope ladders. And the reason that they put themselves in these valleys is because they were warring with other communities. And so it's like having a castle, but your castle is just a sick valley. So we have this farmer, his wife, and his keiki, his child, and they're escaping a war. They're going into Nuololo. They're on the ladder, and their piece of kapa, which is cloth, unravels, and they watch their baby fall. And the farmer and his wife have that moment of watching their kid fall to her death, when it's said that a cloud swept over and a nui nui, the rainbow goddess, I'm pretty sure I'm saying that right. I'm pretty sure I always forget the rainbow goddess's name. So sorry, rainbow goddess. I'm pretty sure it's a nui nui. She comes in and takes the baby. So the baby hits, a nui nui grabs her via rainbow, takes the baby, and the farmer and his wife never see that kid again. But they at least know that she's alive. So I don't know how many years later, 20, 30, maybe, these legends start from the people of Kauai, which is a valley in Waimea, of this goddess with a beautiful voice. And she lives in Waipo'o Falls, or a waterfall back there. I'm not sure which waterfall it is. She lives in a waterfall. And she has this beautiful voice, and she makes papale, which are hats, and sends them down the river for whoever. I don't know. I guess she's alone. She's living in a cave behind a waterfall. She's been adopted by a goddess. I don't know what that's like. It's probably pretty lonely. So she's just back there making papale and singing songs. The people of Kauai are very happy about this because they're getting free hats and plenty jams. So they start worshiping her. She also had some magical powers and was able to control the rain, I think. Anyway, the people of Kauai keep bringing her gifts. And I haven't told this story in so long. Eventually, news gets to the people of Waimea. And so there's this young prince who like refuses to wife anybody up, and his parents are over it because they want a grandson already. And so they're like kind of gnawing at him, like, hey, go find this rainbow goddess that the Kauai people are talking about. Maybe you'll want to wife her up. Maybe we'll get like a magic grandchild. And he's like over it. He's like, no, ba, I don't even like one chick. I like being single. It's way more better. And then his grandma is like, comes in, slaps his head, and convinces him to go and try to meet this rainbow goddess. He travels up valley, sneaks around Kauai village, gets to the waterfall, and when he goes to wash his face, he looks up and he sees the rainbow goddess. And he's like, just boom, he loves her. Falls in love immediately and wants to marry her. Does the full proclamation, what's your name? I want to marry you. And she says she'll marry him if he can learn her name. And so he runs down to Waimea, talks to everyone he possibly can, like keeps doing trips like over and over again, back to the waterfall, back to the village, back to the waterfall, back to the village. And then starts trying to get help from the people of Kauai. They won't touch a hair on his head, apparently, because he's royalty, so they don't want any of that beef. And maybe they're in like a time of peace. Hawaiians had times of war and times of peace. So they're helping him. He's done like 100+ trips to this waterfall and back. Keeps coming up with all these names, and none of them are the right names. He pretty much won't eat, won't sleep, won't drink any water. He's about to die. The people of Kauai are worried that he's going to die in their village, and they're going to get blamed for it, and war is going to break out. So they pick him up, carry him all the way out to the valley, back to Waimea, where he's from. And as he's taking his dying breaths, his grandma comes in, slaps his head again. And she's like, why you never had asked me, boy? I knew her name. No one ever tells grandma nothing. She tells him the name. And the name I remember, but I'm not going to say it because it ties in with his name and I forget his name. And it's the whole names of these two people that have a lot of historical relevance. So I'm not going to mess it up. I'm not going to play with it. If you want to know this whole story in all of its beauty, there's a book called Kauai Tales that I suggest you get. It's by Mr. Whitman himself, senior. Great book. But how the story ends is he gets the name, She accepts, he like builds up his strength back. He eats, he paddles, he gets strong. His grandma's like, Bara, don't go up there looking like how you look right now. You look like you're dying. Don't go try to get the girl. Get strong. So he like did like 2 months of just like reps, push-ups on the beach, eating plenty fish and poi. And then he went to proclaim his love to the wahine. And then they get married, and that marriage signified the unification between the people of Kauai and the people of Waimea. I'm not saying Kauai, or I'm saying Kauai, so it's different. But they unified, and that became the unification of Kauai. And that was the first time that Kauai was, I guess maybe not the first time, but it symbolifies the unification of Kauai as a whole, becoming one kingdom. And that is one of my favorite mo'olelos. That's everything, guys. Thanks for watching. Here's what to expect from me. Aloha from Hawaii is a series of videos, a series of podcasts. I'm going to do one of each every month. We got a bunch of kind of crazy side projects coming out, which is great films that I have backed up that I'm excited to put out on like an unrelated note, but also related. So just stay tuned. Do the whole like and subscribe thing. Just make sure you see my videos, because I'm going to be introducing you to some incredible people. And I'm excited to do this series. Thanks for tuning in. Thank you for the love. If you haven't, go watch the first episode, My Secret Growing Up in Hawaii. It's already live. Cop the hat before we run out. Frikas is flying off the shelves. Thank you guys so much for all the support. I just feel really blessed to have a space where I can share films and share products and share podcasts and have people who want to be a part of it. So mahalo you, and aloha from Hawaii.